Remember when Sprocket was the first built son? Welcome to Ranger Reviews, a web series we look at episodes of the TV show Power Rangers and then discuss them. Today we're exploring the 40th episode of the show, Power Rangers Zeo, as well as the 195th episode overall, titled The Joke's on Blue. We begin this episode at high school where Adam and Tanya are giving a tour to some new kid named Robert. They say that he's now seen every square inch of Angel Grove High, and he says how much bigger this school is than his last one. I mean, that's pretty much a lie, because there's only one hallway and a staircase. Then they hear a scream coming from the study hall area, and Rocky, Jason, and Kat see some girl in there screaming, surrounded by fake plastic spiders. Kat says it's from the Angel Grove novelty shop, and they hope that Robert didn't get the wrong impression of the school from this. Guys, chill out. On the moon, in the RV, Zed apparently hasn't been talking to Rita for 2,000 miles. I mean, same. Zed just talks about how he hates Louie Kaboom and how they wouldn't be in this situation had Rito not messed things up. Rito says it wasn't his fault, and Zed threatens him, telling him to get out with Goldar and go do something useful. Zed then slams on the brake, kicking the two out. The two get up, walking around on the moon, just finding rocks. They then find a golf ball. Then Rito just chucks it and it evaporates from a laser force field thing. Meanwhile, Bulk is trying to get the waitress's attention at the youth center, and everyone except Tommy is eating, and Rocky tries to pour ketchup onto his fries and the lid comes off. Then Tanya's mustard sprays. Then some woman from the school comes in with a pie on her face, complaining that it was from the Angel Grove novelty shop. Bulk and Skull volunteer to take on the case. Then two ace crime solvers, Humphrey and Bogart, come in, saying that they'll solve it before Bulk and Skull. This woman pits them against each other then, saying whoever gets to find the Joker first gets rewarded. On the moon, Rito and Goldar find Machina and Sprocket meeting two other people, Prince Gasket and Archerina. Yeah, Sprocket's older brother and his wife. Gasket promises to take care of the Power Rangers and take back the throne from Louie Kaboom. Rito and Goldar run off to tell Zed and Rita. At the power chamber, Billy boosts the energy and Jason's staff so they can re-energize themselves even in battle. Then some alarms go off and they check it out. Billy brings up a thermal image and it's Gasket and Archerina. Zoran explains who they are, saying that Gasket and Archerina eloped because she was from a rival empire. This is a surprising amount of backstory for Power Rangers. At the school, Bulk and Skull are looking for clues for the practical jokesters. Kat then says, "Excuse me," going into her locker, and inside there's a clown there that blows up a balloon that pops, firing out glitter. They see that it's from the Angel Grove novelty shops, and then they say, "No clues here," and Robert gets in a sick burn about how they're also pretty clueless. Archerina then appears in front of Louie Kaboom, telling him to bow down in front of Prince Gasket. Then Archerina takes out her bow and arrow, firing at Louie Kaboom. She hits him, and Louie instantly falls in love with her. She asks what he'd do for her, and he says anything. She then tells him to go straight to Earth and kill the Rangers. He leaves. At the youth center, Jason is with Adam and Rocky, and Jason does a kick, hitting a bag off of a chain, and it sprays confetti all over him. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, these jokes kinda high-key really suck. Also, there's a giant Louie Kaboom in the city attacking. Kat and Tanya are walking together and they hear someone talk about their new shipment from the Angel Grove novelty shop. And of course, it's Humphrey and Bogart. They plan to frame Bulk and Skull for being losers so they can get any work in Angel Grove. Then the communicators go off so all 6 Rangers arrive at the power chamber, getting updated from Zoran about how Louie Kaboom is attacking. They have to call out their Super Zeozords. It's morphin' time! The Super Zeozords are fired out of the cannon and the Rangers warp in, each taking on Louie Kaboom. Where's Jason? Doesn't matter, they're firing at him from all fronts, and I don't think they've ever done this well against him. They then form the Super Zeo Megazord for no reason other than to show off. Louie attacks them and he uses his rocket arm to fire at them, hitting them down. The Rangers then see that Archerina and Gasket are watching this, and I guess somehow they hear about Gasket's entire plan. Archerina then tells Kaboom to kill the Power Rangers, and this scene is static for a solid minute before Jason just suddenly comes in Pyramidas. Did he get stuck in traffic or something? Then Jason yells for them to use the Defender wheel, and Tommy calls out for the Warrior wheel. So what is the truth, Power Rangers? The Warrior wheel comes out and they use him against Kaboom, but it actually just doesn't instantly kill him. Their next option is literally their last besides the original Megazord, forming the Zeo Ultrazord. Also, I don't remember them showing how lame it is that the Super Zeozords just stand in the back of Pyramidas. They knock Louie Kaboom down and he then falls down after telling Archerina that he loves her, blowing up into nothingness. In space, Archerina is embarrassed that her love arrow failed, but Gasket reassures her that it was good enough for this. They will kill the Rangers on their own. How many main bad guys are we going to get this season? Rito and Goldar come back to Rita and Zed, and they say that they have news, and they say how they already know about Gasket and Archerina. They then tell them how the Power Rangers killed Louie Kaboom, and Rito just lets them know that, well, I found a golf ball since their thunder was just stolen. Zed doesn't really care because he's clearly had it with the Machine Empire. At the youth center, that lady from the school sits on a whoopee cushion, which makes Jason, Adam, and Rocky laugh because they're 12. Then Bulk and Skull come in and Humphrey and Bogart follow them, explaining that someone who would want to make new friends did this. They try to blame it on Robert, who obviously denies it. Then Kat and Tanya come in with Hank from the Angel Grove novelty shop, letting them know that Humphrey and Bogart are there for him. The two try to pretend like they've never seen Hank before in their lives, but of course Bulk and Skull, after Skull struggles to figure out what's actually going on here, they explain to this woman, who is apparently named Miss Rodriguez, who the actual jokesters are. Kat and Tanya make them apologize to Robert for accusing him when it was just a straight up lie, and then she takes them away. Then Skull sees a can of beans, opening it, and yeah, it's fake snakes. The end. This episode's really weird because it really implies that this episode's gonna have literally anything to do with Rocky, but it doesn't. In fact, it's a Bulk and Skull episode. It's actually nice to see that Kat and Tanya figured it out, and that they're trying to protect Bulk and Skull from getting their own reputation ruined by these Humphrey and Bogart characters. It's a shame that the episode overall did nothing for me except for those two very big things. I mean, it killed Louis Kaboom, which is nice because his fake New York accent was grating on me. It also introduced Gasket and Archerina to the mix, and it gave a nice backstory for both of them. Honestly, I'd rather see a show that leads up to the Machine Empire being where they're at in episode 1 than half of these episodes, but oh well. I wonder when Mondo is going to be fully rebuilt though, because it's definitely been a while. So next time, Jason, David, and Frank leaves for cigarettes without coming home for a bit, but until then, may the power protect you.